Hey, welcome to what event planners actually look for before they book you and what's costing you the stage. My name is Kendra Harris, and I'm an online business manager, and I'm here with Madeleine Victoria, who is a social media manager, and we're going to share all the tips that we have learned working with keynote speakers. So, really quickly, a little bit about me. I like to call myself a business doctor of organization because that's really what I do for speakers and other service providers. I streamline operations, optimize back-end systems, and basically create the structure that you don't have time to create or are too busy to create so that your business can grow. And Madeleine,
Yeah, and I am a social media manager and show it website designer. So I work mostly with service providers and speakers. They're, tired of DIYing their social media. They're spending tons of time on their content, like hours only to get like 200 reels or 200 views on their reels. And they're just, ready to stand out online with high converting websites and engaging social media content. All right. I think there's a little bit of a lag, so if I'm a little slow to get to
okay.
the
Well, what
slide.
we're going to do is we're going to share some behind the scenes for you guys of what we see happening, things that we know that have happened with speakers we've worked with and why they bring us on,
Mhm.
things that are happening in your business, and what's basically costing you bookings when you're a really great speaker and you have a great story, but there's other things that are showing up that are not conveying that correctly, right? So, Madeleine's going to share with you what event planners check before they book you from the social media side.
Yeah, so a couple of months ago, well, maybe it was last month, Kendra and I did like another LinkedIn Live, and we talked about hiring, when to bring on like a social media manager, a VA, or an OBM. And so it named a problem that nobody else was like naming for them. So today we're kind of doing the flip side of this. So it's like, hiring the right help doesn't even matter if event planners are passing over you before you even get the chance to use that. So most speakers think that they're losing gigs because they're not good enough or, they're not famous enough. But a lot of times it's because of something very fixable in how they show up online or how they operate behind the scenes. So event planners, look up to you, they research you before they book you. If your last post was like back in February, or if your bio says something that's like not relevant at all, or like if your overall social media is not active, or if it looks very unprepared, that's just going to be a turnoff for people. So they're looking for proof that you can hold a room, that you can hold an audience online, because that just shows them like, okay, if you can hold an audience online, then that translates, a little bit to, on stage. So it's definitely social media is definitely a first impression. So the types of things that they're going to check immediately are whether you've posted or shown up recently, whether your topic is clear in one glance, if they could see social proof, maybe it's like videos from past events or even pictures. People kind of miss they don't think that pictures are as important on social media, but they both play a part. So if you don't have anything super recent, then you can always, film yourself just talking, just showing your personality, showing what you're passionate about, showing that you are like articulate and that you do have a message. And we also want to like make sure that your photos and videos and like footage overall look like you right now. So a few specific red flags, and I'm just going to go through these kind of fast, but some red flags that immediately give sort of a bad impression. And I touched on this a minute ago, but it's inconsistent or contradictory messaging about what you actually speak on, right? We want to be clear, we want to be concise. If another red flag is you don't have clear topic positioning. Another one is like a confusing bio. Your bio, a lot of people don't realize, but your bio can really make or break your social media, not just for people who are coming to your profile and, looking at it at a glance, but also because of the keywords. Social media now is very keyword heavy. It is acting like a search engine, and a lot of times, like it connects to Google, to ChatGPT, AI. And so we want to have like specific words in there that get you found easier and that are relevant to where you are now. Another red flag is, not having any recent videos of you speaking. It's like what we talked about a second ago. We want to make sure that people know that you are very relevant, that you have a message, that you are good at speaking. And so they can just, it acts as your portfolio. Social media acts as, your portfolio. And then another red flag is outdated headshots. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it actually is. We want to keep everything very up to date because what ends up happening is if people think that you're not, or if they think that you're not as relevant, like they're going to go with somebody who is more consistent in posting and who posts more frequently and more recently. So
Yeah,
what,
and sorry,
yeah,
I
no,
was
go
going to
for
add
it.
to that. When you said that, it made me think of something that we have talked about before too, something that we actually both do with clients. Like if you haven't Googled yourself lately or looked up yourself or what you speak about even using AI, you should do that and see what happens. So if you're on your AI search engine, it already has that history with you. So like open up an incognito browser or whatever, or like sometimes I'll flip over to like my personal instead of my business, and I'll Google stuff from there that I haven't Googled or used AI with, but see what pops up. Like maybe you have an old Facebook page. I'm sure Madeleine's uncovered a lot of old social media accounts that people might have forgot that they had when she works with them. So that's something that you need to do because people are doing it, event planners are doing it to see who you are, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And since we're talking about like AI and ChatGPT, like information, this is my last little point, but information is it's not hard to get nowadays, right? Like you can go to Gemini or to Claude or to Chat and like type in anything, but what sets you apart is your experience and opinion. So I tell people this all the time, especially more recently, like anytime that you can incorporate your opinion into a post or your personality or you know your experience or a story, like that's going to help you stand out on social media and it's going to help people get to know you better, especially again in this world of AI where anybody can look up any type of information. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. And, unfortunately, in this business, that's one of the things anybody can say they're a speaker.
Mhm.
So, what's going to set you apart from them? So, what I work with speakers on and what I've seen firsthand and behind the scenes is what event planners expect after they've looked at your social media, after they've researched you a little bit, and they're like, okay, I want to work with them. Something that they love is professional resources in one easy to find location, such as your headshots, your intro, all of that stuff packaged nice and neat so they don't have to go hunt for it. It's not in a weird file source where they have to like download and different things like that. Making it easy for them to work with you is also a great way to get referrals. Madeleine touched on this before, but your speaking topics that you're talking about, like just even in social media, making sure that you're talking about the transformation that people are going to have with you, right? Anybody can come in to speak to them, but what makes a great speaker is their audience actually experiences some type of transformation. So keeping that in mind, it's important not just when you're having a call with someone, but as you're doing your website, as you're doing the proposal, as you're putting out social media. And speaking of a proposal, a personalized proposal goes such a long way. So
Mhm.
many speakers have done this, they've come up with a template and they're just plugging in information, right? What if you took an extra 5 minutes and you looked up the brand colors for the people that you're going to be meeting with or that you're sending this proposal to? What if you grabbed a couple of pictures, a couple recent pictures of their team or from their social media? Obviously, make sure you're following copyright laws here, but people love to see that. Like, oh, that's a picture of our building. She took the time to put that on the proposal, and look, it's our brand colors, not hers. So again, just making the whole process easy, beginning to end, is super, super important. And so, what are some behind the scenes red flags that cost you bookings? When things are not organized and they're scattered across your emails, your texts, everywhere, then that makes it hard for people to want to work with you, right? It makes you look unprofessional. I've worked with some speakers, that have been in this business for 10, 20 plus years, that really at first glance, when I got an email from them, even I thought, real, is this somebody I want to work with? Are they really a keynote speaker? And then I looked into their background and their email didn't match anything about their LinkedIn profile and their website and stuff. So literally every touch point, every piece of communication needs to be professional. And it's funny that you say that, but like obviously I've seen it. So we've talked about the proposal, just taking a few extra minutes to look up their, even their team strategy or their company strategy for the year and adding stuff about that's another way you can make it personalized and following up with them. A lot of speakers are a lot of busy, but if they don't follow up, they're not going to come, after you most of the time. It does happen occasionally, but if you don't have a good follow-up process, you're just losing money left and right. And as far as the onboarding process, like, let's be real here, guys. Yes, you can hire somebody to help you, but you don't have to. Like, there's AI, there's all kinds of CRMs and stuff. But even if you don't even have any of those, a spreadsheet is better than nothing, right? Which is what most speakers start with. But once it gets too difficult to keep your process in line, that's when you can talk about hiring. But make your process, right? A lot of speakers know what they do and they kind of do it, but they forget steps sometimes. They've not ever really made their process or sat down and like wrote out what their process is. So have a process, no matter if that's just you or you working with somebody or you using a CRM or not. Make sure you have a process so that it's easier to follow and things don't fall through the cracks.
Oh, absolutely. And I love what you said about personalizing the proposal. I think that is such a great idea. And I mean, even something as simple as like using a picture of their building or their brand colors is really going to help you stand out because, like we've been saying, not to bring up AI again, but like AI is great to help with, the behind the scenes work and stuff like that. But in a world of AI, like we want to be personable and we want to show like our humanity and we want to put the other person first. So, I mean, you can definitely do that like through a proposal or through social media. It's just like finding different ways to connect and again, like connect to them on a human level. So, we've talked about some problems. Let's talk about solutions and the fix to all of this. So, the first thing that I want to say is like pick a consistent cadence for social media that you can actually keep, even if it's just 2 or 3 times a week. Consistent is, that's what's going to help you, one, get seen on social media by the right people, and then two, just like help the algorithm know like the type of content you share. I tell people, and I actually heard this from a mentor of mine, we want to prioritize like consistency over, like constancy. So like what I mean by that is again just picking a certain number a week and just like making sure it's quality content rather than like posting every single day. Posting things that won't resonate with your audience, won't like doesn't show like how high caliber you are. And so another thing that you can do is use footage from every event that you speak at. This is huge. Like everybody should be doing this. That one appearance can create weeks and weeks of content. That means you'll be more consistent by default. So that kind of takes care of, that first bullet point. And then you'll stay at the top of people's minds and like in the algorithms, like quote unquote good graces, but you'll have more of a chance also to get more views and engagement. I saw a reel this morning when I was scrolling just a couple hours ago. Like it was posted back in April, but like it popped up on my reel feed. So like it circulates. So just because something was posted a few months ago doesn't mean that it won't, pop up again. And I've actually been seeing this a lot lately. It's really interesting. Again, like the algorithm shifts like all the time, but so I would definitely encourage you to use footage and clip that. And you can clip it easily in the Instagram Edits app. That's, I use that in CapCut. Edits is very easy to use. You can slap some closed captions on it, which I would highly recommend doing that because a lot of people watch it with the sound off. But so that's a great way to just make sure that your Instagram, your social media, whatever you use, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, is more like up to date. Another thing that you can do is look at your bio, lock that in, and lock in like 1 or 2 core topics and keep them identical across every platform. And make sure that your email is up to date. Make sure that like all your other information is up to date. Make sure that your website is too. And another thing that I want to say about websites is I can't tell you how many times I go to somebody's Instagram bio and they have like 10 website links in their bio, like, on a link tree. We want to only choose, probably 3 or 4 max to really, just give people or not give them decision fatigue, I should say. We want to give them a clear path like that, we want them to go. If you only have one link, even better, that you've got one call to action. But I know some people like having different links for different things. So that's another thing that I'll say. And then also use keywords in your bio. Like I talked about before, we want to make sure that we're showing up like when people search for us, whether that's on social media or on AI. And so the more keywords that we can use, the better. I would say use like at least 1 or 2, whether it's like maybe your topics that you're passionate about, maybe, if you have a specific niche or like a specific location. We don't want to like just throw a bunch of keywords in and make it like not readable at all, but we want to be like strategic and conversational, put the human first, but incorporate the keywords into that. So those are a few of my fixes. And then Kendra.
I want to add, so when you were talking about the links, I can't tell you how many times I have clicked on somebody's link on Instagram or wherever because I was like, oh, I want to check out this. So I click on the link and then all of a sudden there's 20 different links in my face. I don't even remember what I came there for because it's not real easy to find. Like call it ABC and then make the title ABC, people,
Mhm.
like let's make this easy for people. So much of this is like sometimes I feel like speakers don't take the time to stop and think about what it looks like from the other side.
Yeah.
So, whether you're dealing with social media operations or whatever, it's a good practice once a week or at least once a month to stop and like say, okay, what does this look like if I'm the event planner or if I'm the person trying to find a speaker and I land on this? Is this a good feeling or not a good feeling?
Yeah.
So, some of the fixes on the operations side, proposals, yes, you can have a template, but definitely customize it. Use AI, people. Like it's so easy. You can take a company's strategic plan, put it into AI, put your proposal template in there, and it'll spit out something that's probably 90-95% what you need. So there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be getting that proposal to people within the same day that you've talked to them. Okay. Let's be honest. Like we have a way to do that now and make it super quick, but personalize it. Okay. Use your template, but we're going to personalize it a little bit. We're going to look up their brand colors, go to Google and say, what is the ABC company's brand colors? And a lot of times it'll pop up because they'll have that on the back end of their website. Um, and like I said before, pictures and things. Create one repeatable workflow. So, yes, you're going to have different things that happen throughout talking to a client. But if I asked you, like, okay, from beginning to end, what happens from the time that somebody says they want to work with you until they finish working with you? Like, it should not look like a bunch of spaghetti on the paper. You should be able to tell me about what your steps are and how to work through it. And if you've not ever thought through that, that's something good to, even if it's been a few years, stop and write that down and see if like there's things that you're missing or places that you could level up your game. Track everything, it's not just about the people that we're speaking to. A lot of time they have connections like LinkedIn in real life here. Okay. So make sure that you're tracking the people, the things that you're sending out. We don't want to be creating things from scratch every single time because that is just so time consuming. So templates are good. I want to make sure I say that again. Templates are okay, but personalizing them, adding that extra touch is where you're going to get the booking over somebody that didn't. Create updated resources and store them in an easy to access location. So resources, I'm talking about your bio, your AV notes, like all of those things. Make sure that they're easy to get to. And if you don't know if they're easy to get to, like let me tell you, my husband, I love him to death, and he's on technology like a little bit. Occasionally, he looks on Facebook, I think, or Facebook Marketplace. But if I want to test something, like sometimes I use him to test Zooms and things, or if I want to see if something makes sense, he has, very little idea about what I do. I'll just send him something. I'll be like, tell me what you would do or show me what you would do. And I'll put him on the computer, right? There's somebody around you that can test your process. So if it passes his test and I'm like, hey, read this email and tell me what you think this is. If he can tell me what it is and he knows nothing about it, then it passes the test. So, if you're not sure if something's in an easy to access location, give it to somebody that, doesn't use technology a lot and let them check it out. And so crucial to your business. Make sure that you have a system for after your event for collecting referrals or following up with the people that hired you. Getting those testimonials and things like those are so important, especially in AI. It's how we get linked back to other places and how we start showing up more on search results. And it's how you get repeat bookings too, right? So like some people that you're going to get referrals from are going to be really great leads. Other ones are going to be maybe not so hot, but they still heard you speak. Like, I can't say this enough to speakers. If someone has heard you speak, they may not be the CEO or the person that's going to hire you, but they've heard you speak. So they already have that buy in to what you do, to your message, to like who you are. And so even if there's somebody that's, answers your questionnaire like, no, I don't know anybody that speaks, you really don't need to discount them though, because they are a very crucial part of your business still. Maybe you don't treat them as much as a hot lead that says, hey, I book people to speak and I want you to come speak at this event next year. But people that have heard you speak are still a very important part of your business. So keep that in mind when you're thinking through what things that you might want to do with that. And if you have any questions, obviously reach out. I'd love to chat about it. But and the last thing, something that let's just be real, none of you speakers have time to do. Measure what's working in your business. A lot of times speakers have a good idea of what's working, but do they actually track the metrics and then sit down and analyze? No, because they don't have time. And if you don't do that with your operations, if you don't do that with social media, you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? I mean, I must really want spaghetti for lunch, but it's just my food item of choice today. So I hope we have given you guys some really great tips and some things that you can even like go do right now or put on your little to-do list and check out this weekend when you have a minute.
Yes, and I also like circling back to what you said about follow-ups, like I have to touch on that too for a second because with in marketing, a lot of times what people forget is okay, we're getting more visible, we're nurturing our audience, but like if we have no way to check in or to follow our leads, then, we're wasting a lot of time and we're wasting a lot of energy that we could have used on people who are already like kind of familiar with us. They just need that extra nudge. So I'm really, really glad that you brought up follow-ups because I think that's like a huge thing that, people miss. Like they have to have the visibility on social media, but then they also have to have, that reminder, whether that's someone who heard them speak or whether that's, following up about a booking or whatever that may be. But yeah, I mean, super great points. And I'm always happy to answer like any questions about the social media side of it. And, if you have questions about the like clipping the videos, or if you have questions about like what your bio should look like, what types of keywords that you should include, how to make it, more like apparent who you are, how you help, and why it's important, then I am always happy to like send a voice message back and forth. And you can find me on Instagram at Madeline Victoria Co. And I would love to connect with you.
Thank you.